Hello everyone, Russ of Aquarimax here. Today, for the first Friday feeding of the month, I'm going to be feeding what has to be one of the easiest pets in the entire world, my Hawaiian Opae Ula shrimp. So I'm going to drop a goldfish food pellet into the tank now. Might take a second to sink. There it goes. And now we'll see how long it takes the first shrimp to find it. It's usually not very long at all. And here we go. There's a close-up on the shrimp attacking the little pellet of goldfish food. I only have to feed the shrimp a couple of times a month, if that. Actually, I could go a lot longer without feeding them. They'd be just fine. But they do seem to appreciate the food. The thing is, there are always little bits of algae and bacterial film and so on in the tank that they're eating. They're constantly grazing on it, so they're not really going hungry even when I don't add supplemental food. You can see that there is a snail, a very dark-shelled snail that is actually Malaysian trumpet snail in the shot. These can be acclimated to the brackish water that these shrimp require pretty easily and do very well as a cleanup crew in the tank. They do not breed over much as they do in many other setups because there just simply aren't as many nutrients as in the tank as there are in many other tanks because the shrimp eat so little. So the bio load in here is low and there's not a lot of excess food for the snails to go crazy with. You can see there are actually a few of them in the shot, but there are really not a lot in the tank, and they tend to stay darker and smaller when they live with these shrimp than they do when they're in a freshwater setup, for example. You can see that the shrimp vary in color. There are some that are darker red than others, and that is normal. It depends on a lot of factors. Age is one factor, and exposure to light is another factor. If they've been hiding in the lava rock piles, they come out pale, but if they are in the light for a while, they tend to darken up. And then there's some individual variation in the shrimp as well. So as I started to say, these shrimp live in brackish water. They can live in brackish water of various salinities, but they seem to do really, really well at a salinity of half strength of seawater. So I make a seawater solution and dilute that with distilled water, and then it's perfect for them. And they seem to do really, really well that way. In this shot, you can see there are some strands of the macro algae that grows in this tank. It fortunately grows very, very slowly, but is a good way to keep other algae from growing too fast in the tank because it does help reduce some of the excess nutrients in the tank. And I would say that if I had to pick the easiest pet I've ever kept, it would be this one. As other people have mentioned, this shrimp only needs to be fed once a month or less often. You don't need to do water changes at all. You just top off evaporated water with distilled water. And the shrimp don't overbreed to exceed the capacity of the enclosure they're in. This is a 10-gallon aquarium they're in right now. And it is this is a 10-gallon aquarium that they're in, and there are probably a few hundred shrimp in here, and they're still reproducing, and they still haven't overpopulated the tank. Well, let's put this on a time lapse and see what it looks like when they really go on a feeding frenzy. One thing that I find really interesting about watching this in a time lapse is not only that the shrimp are kind of pushing the pellet of food around, but you can see that some of the snails are really pretty active. They're just active at such slow speeds that we don't really notice. But when you put it up at this speed, you can see them really pretty interested in finding that food and pursuing it actively as well. Not only the shrimp that are getting into the act. And now let's go back to real time. You can see there are quite a few shrimp here, but I think what I'll do is show you kind of the whole view of the tank, and you can see what's going on. All right, now here is better view of the whole tank. You can see that there are shrimp kind of swimming everywhere. They get pretty excited in the entire tank when there's food available, but the largest concentration of them is in this sort of feeding ball right on top of the food pellet, which looks like it's broken into a couple of different pieces now. You know, since these are so easy to take care of, they do make a great pet for like an office. I have a 5.5 gallon set up in my office with these guys, and I can leave for Christmas vacation or summer vacation or whatever and not have to give them, you know, any thought or care during that time, and I come back and they're just fine. If you want to know how to take care of them, I have made some videos on that, and I also have some links in the description to get you started. I'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons at Patreon. All of the projects we do at AquariumX Pets are supported in large part by you, so we really appreciate everything you do. If you'd like to learn more about how to help support AquariumX Pets on Patreon, we'll put a link at the end of the video and also in the description. Thanks for watching today. I post videos every Wednesday and Friday, all on aquarium and vivarium pets. Please feel free to share, rate, comment, and if you haven't already, subscribe. And then click the bell icon so you don't miss my next video. Oh, is that a green shrimp? Check that out, right in the middle of the screen. That shrimp is a different color. What's going on there? I don't think I've ever seen a shrimp look quite like that before. At least not this species of shrimp. Well, that's pretty interesting.